Welcome everybody. Good morning, bom dia, buenos dias, buenas tardes. We have we first of all we are very excited to have you all on board and thank you very much for participating on our webinar. This is an exclusive webinar about NetApp on NetApp. It's a program where NetApp will showcase how we use our technology to drive and efficient overcome the business challenges that us as a company have, and also our customers and you guys goes through the same or similar processes. So that's the idea. We are excited to have Matt Brown with us. Matt leads the program that delivers the NetApp on NetApp. So I'm going to ask Matt to introduce himself in a minute. And in the name of on the name of NetApp Latam, I would like to welcome everybody. I'm Marcos Gaspar. I'm the district manager for NetApp Brazil. We should have with us today Oscar Anzola. There is the director for NetApp Latin America. Oscar is in a business trip, so I'm welcoming you guys in behalf of Oscar. Is with us also Fabio Denegri as also a speaker. Fabio is responsible for partners and alliances in Brazil. So when we are very excited to the opportunity to have Matt with us, we've been planning for a while, and luckily we got the agenda on Matt. So I wish you the best on this training, and I also invite you guys to participate, put on some questions, doubts, or comments. So we are going to be monitoring the chat, and we are going to make sure that quick Q&A are going to be fulfilled and are going to be addressed either during the call or later on, but you can get an answer for sure. So please get interactive and shoot your message in and take the best that we can from the experience that Matt has. So not further points, Matt, I will transfer to you, and if you can introduce yourself, it will be more than thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much for the introduction, Marcos. And so welcome everybody. So my name is Matt Brown. I'm part of our own IT organization. We like to say we're customer one, or even more kind of American colloquialism. We like to say we drink our own brew. We definitely run NetApp on NetApp. Part of my job is really sharing these experiences with our customers, with our partners, with our field, really less about the features functionality, more about how we adopt it to solve problems and how we adopt it in innovative ways to gain value as fast as possible. Like many of you, and especially in the customer space, budgets are tight. Yet the problems keep coming. They're always new, and there's always more problems than there is time and money to solve. I've been in the industry. I've been with NetApp for about 26 years now. I've been in the IT industry for almost 40 here in the Valley. I'm really looking forward to sharing at an overview what NetApp IT has done over the last, I've just limited to about 12 years, just to kind of give you a feel of what we can share with you if you're interested in deeper conversations. So the expectation for today is I will cover our program. I will cover some highlights of our working journey, and I'll provide some proof points. And like Marcos had said, really encourage questions. I am a customer just like you. I'm not a salesperson. I work for our CIO, and I, again, really enjoy sharing our experiences to help us all be more successful in the adoption of NetApp technology. So what is NetApp and NetApp? I kind of covered it. We are customers just like everybody else. In fact, we really are passionate about remaining a customer element of the NetApp Corporation. This really allows us to really participate not only as a customer, but also work with our product teams to make our products better. A little bit of facts about NetApp. We're about a $6.5 billion US company. We have about 12,000 employees. If you look at contractors and additional workforce, we have about 25,000 users that our NetApp IT organization manages. Like most companies our size on the enterprise, we have about over 1,300 applications. What's probably a little bit different than some of our companies of our size, um, I have over 140 petabytes, yes, petabytes of storage on a global basis. Now, when I say that, you probably think, well, Matt, you get this for free. Why not have as much as you want? Actually, I don't get it for free. I have to pay for cost of goods. But as all of you know, um, the real cost comes in the data center, the people that takes to manage it, and the entire ecosystem. So we're very good custodians. If we're using 140 petabytes, we're using it because we have to in the context of running our company. Factoids as we're going along. In that 140 petabytes, just to kind of tease you as we're getting into, when we got into the use cases, at any given time, I only have three people, three storage people managing this large ecosystem. So I'll start giving you a flavor that we rely heavily on automation, proactive support, proactive management of our environments, and really, like you, really cost conscious and really have to scale at cost and really become effective as we continue to grow in our organization. In the customer one space, these are the day-to-day adopters. Just like you, we have a storage team, we have a platform team, we have network teams. They are the people who have challenges, and we apply the NetApp solution set. It's in that practice that we document those experiences, document the challenges, document what we have done to solve these problems, and more importantly, documented the business outcomes. As all of you know, buying a piece of technology is only the first part. It's how do you proceduralize? How do you really maximize the benefits, the investments that you make? And that is exactly where the NetApp and NetApp program fits. In our conversations, and probably when you're looking at these 5 items, hopefully they resonate with you. Because we talk with global customers almost once a day, we really get a flavor of what are the hot topics in the field. As you can imagine, AI, and I would actually put security up there too. Security is like a perennial, it's always in the top of mind. But a lot of people want to talk about AI. The cloud is obviously a big part of it. How do you move to the cloud? What should you move to the cloud? How do you make that migration effective, cost effective, work within your processes, and never lose sight of, in this case, your data, and really provide the maximum value of your data ecosystem? VMware. I'm sure if you are a VMware customer, you too are going through all their different licensing changes. Very hot topic for us as well as a customer. VMware is a very important business partner for NetApp. But as an IT organization, those costs in tight budgets really have to make you review that entire platform and that entire ecosystem to ensure that it can remain effective for you going forward. And in the case where you're looking for alternatives, we too have gone through that experience and we will share that. And I'll share some of that today as well. Automation. When you're talking about AI, there's an automation element in that implied. Automation is key for scaling. It's key for removing the repetitive tasks from our environment. It affects every aspect of our IT organization. And I'll focus most of our automation on day one, the delivery of that, ensuring that people who need services receive those services fast, effectively, and at a high quality. And yes, security. As we're going through this, obviously security is in everything we do. You cannot operate today without having a very strong security mindset. And why I have it last on the list, you'll get the sense that as we're talking through each one of these items, it's embedded in almost every topic we discuss. I'll pause and just see if there's any initial questions before I get started. Let's continue. So I'm going to share start off the conversations here. I've captured some of I, I think the most common talking points, and because of time, I won't have really a lot of be able to go a lot of details here. But I'm going to start talking about the journey because we started off with the operational excellence journey, IT transformation, focusing on really improving our ability to deliver IT as a service. That folded into our cloud journey, and now we're on our AI journey. So all these journeys continue. Some of the most popular things we get asked is, so how have you been successful in managing it? What have you learned through this? And I'll just call up at a few points. One is everybody knows in technology, any type of adoption of new technology is actually less about the technology and more about the people who have to adopt it. It's change. Change is hard. A lot of our existing technology is embedded in process. So you can't have new technology without changing business or IT processes. And we have a lot of experience with that. And it's a very important part of the success criteria. Also, I don't know exactly where you sit in IT, but a lot of us sit in infrastructure, which means we're at the mercy of our applications team, which implies the more we understand about our applications environment, the more effective we can be. We ourselves in our infrastructure work very closely with our architects and with our applications portfolio to really understand not only where we are today, but where we're going in the future. And I'll share some of that process and where NetApp technology is assisting us. The other piece, and it's one of the biggest lessons learned, is and you can pick on almost any one of the topics I had shared, AI, I'll pick on VMware. These aren't just isolated to infrastructure. They affect all of IT. And when we're going through these journeys, we have to be holistic in the mindset of how we're affecting that organization and create partnerships and teamwork so we aren't doing this alone. We're doing this with the partnerships of our application teams, our network teams, and more importantly, even our business partners. A last couple of things I'll just mention here. You can't move into a modern IT shop without a lot of automation. I will talk about our automation strategy and how we're applying it. And again, very important part for how we have been able to scale, remain cost effective, and really become more efficient as a service provider for our organization. And as I had mentioned, costs matter. Let me just give you a data point here. So when I start sharing some details of our journey, you have this in the back of your head. Our IT shop budget has not changed since 2017, not by $1. And we have gone through our cloud migration, so we've been able to manage being cost neutral, giving us far more capabilities without increasing costs. Um, and as I had shared, security matters. So everything we're doing, security has to be embedded to keep our data safe, to keep our customers' experience safe, and again, to be able to grow and scale, it has to be embedded in not only what we're doing today, but everything we're doing in the future. And I'll cover some of that as we go forward. And again, if you have questions, feel free to raise a hand, chime in. I'm very happy to address them. As like you, I'm an IT person. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to talk about products. I'm here really, again, as a peer to share experiences. So I'm going to start off with our working architecture. Um, as you can imagine, our architecture is built around NetApp, and sorry for the colors here, but I think the picture really starts to really speak 1,000 words. ONTAP is at the center of our architecture structure. Probably like you, we're doing a lot of SaaS. For us specifically, as I'm speaking to you, we're migrating to Oracle Cloud. We're a Salesforce customer. We're a big ServiceNow customer. ServiceNow will feature in our use case. But at the heart is ONTAP. So why is that important? ONTAP gives us as a customer not only the ability to move, manage, and protect our data in our private cloud, but we've extended that ecosystem into the public cloud. So I can still snap mirror, snapshot, flex clone, and really allow those capabilities to enhance my cloud experience. On top of that, as an IT shop, I don't have a separate AWS team or a separate Azure team or a separate infrastructure team. I have one team. And what makes this very elegant is I have one operating system to train on, one skill set I need to manage my 140 petabyte ecosystem. That is really key in managing what I would call a small IT shop and maximize our capabilities. And as you can see here, if you're familiar with some of our technologies, um, the biggest benefits of being in the cloud and being able to snap our technology, whether we're creating copies for day-to-day operations, data protection, backup and recovery, or features like Snap Lock, which actually creates security for our data. We can do that back on-prem. Having this ability of having data and the ability to snap this data in various locations really gives me the mobility I need. Um, the other elements are and I'll give you one really quick element in terms of our Oracle. Anytime you're moving a big application data set from one place to another, it's never easy. And for applications, you don't just copy the database. A lot of you know this. The database has to be ingested by the new application's construct, which means it has to have really great connectivity to do this ingestion in a predictable way and in a scalable way. For our Oracle, I'll just give you this real quick example. We have snapshotted our data into AWS, in this case, our CVO solution, which is a type of ONTAP capability. And from the CVO, Oracle Cloud is ingesting from there, making the ingestion far more predictable. That's one of many use cases that I'll cover here today. But as you can see, we are not in one cloud, we're in many clouds. Let me make a note of this. Most of us have a favorite cloud. In fact, when I talk to customers, they go, oh, yeah, I'm in AWS or I'm in Google or I'm in Azure. But the fact is, probably in all of them, we have elements of our organizations that are using them for different things. For NetApp IT specifically, we're an AWS shop. But I'm a big Azure shop. I have Office 365. I leverage a lot of technologies in Azure. And for those of you who don't know, our CEO's brother, uh, Tom Kurian, uh, actually runs Google Cloud. So we do run a lot of things in Google as well. I am truly in a multi-global hybrid cloud to run my organization, and the bulk of our data runs on ONTAP to give me the flexibility, to give me the capability, the data mobility, the data security I need to run it. So keep this in mind now as I go into our use cases. I will pause and see if there's any initial questions. So far, so good?
We have one here is about how many petabytes do we have in the cloud versus on premises?
Great question. So we're in a kind of a transition state right now. For frame of reference, we are moving a lot of our enterprise applications into SaaS. As our systems of differentiation will remain either in an AWS or an on-prem solution set. That said, I believe we have about, I think it's about 2.5 petabytes of storage right now in AWS. The lion's share remains on-prem because it's data at rest. Most of that is, if you're not familiar with our Active IQ environment or our auto support environment, all that data sits on-prem. All of our backup, all of our archives are on-prem. So the active data is in our case, is in AWS for the most part. So hopefully that helps. I welcome refining questions if there's interest. Was
And
that
how do you see the data repatriation? So
so that's interesting. So because and I'll share with you our approach to the cloud. We have yet to move an application to the cloud and then have to bring it back. That said, maybe a different way of looking at that, all of our corporate data, obviously we follow corporate rules in terms of what we share. We have regional offices where we store customer data, but for the bulk of the corporate data, the archiving, a lot of the core reporting all resides for the most part in our private cloud. Does that help? Does that answer that question for you?
Yes, I believe so. And there are another two. Do you wanna keep going or take those other questions at the end? 'Cause there
You can just keep, I welcome as we're going.
Okay. So another question is why CVO and FSX and not only one product?
So very good question. In our history, because we're customer one, we had already installed CVO as early adopters. Most of our work today is on FSXN. We love FSXN. Because I had the CVO instance and because it offered, it existed and it predated the FSX installation. We've been using it as our migration platform. The work just hasn't gone on to move that work into the FSXN solution set. So it's just a matter of we had it, it was early adopter. As we're migrating, as we're leveraging more FSXN, the future will be, for the most part, AWS FSXN.
Good. And the last one we have for now is what tool within NetApp, in your opinion, can we use to attract customers' attention compared to the competitors?
Excellent. So for us, there's a couple of things I want to call out here. Number one, it is one skill set. I have one team that manages my entire ecosystem. And in our case, we have one platform team that includes storage. So that's a big plus. Number two, the ability to move data rather seamlessly. I can flex clone into the cloud, right? Which means not moving data until you start using it, right? So that's a very powerful thing. I have one security strategy between on-prem and cloud because I'm on the NetApp solution set. And lastly, we also leverage something, if you're probably familiar with it, the Data Infrastructure Insight tool. Just a note there, NetApp acquired a tool probably back about 12 years ago. And in this Data Infrastructure Insights tool DNA, it was born to be an agnostic tool set for storage operating systems, which means it can see not only NetApp technology, but all storage technology. So I have one tool, one plane, one ability to see all my data sets, understand who's using what and why, performance, etc., which really allows me as an IT shop to have better visibility, better manageability, which will lead into my operational excellence conversation here in just a moment. Does that help? Is there any follow-up there? Let me just give you kind of a side note. So we have a new VP over our cloud infrastructure team. And unfortunately, he had never been a customer before. Now that he's been here for over a year, he's really excited about the fact that it is a unified storage solution. He's very happy that he only has one skill set to manage, one strategy to provide around ransomware and storage protection, one strategy around archiving. Gives us a lot of benefits in terms of our ability to scale, especially process-wise. So those things are very important to our own IT shop in terms of our ability not only to remain cost-effective, but to quickly deliver to our business in a very high-quality manner.
Good.
And again,
now, that's all
please keep going. So let me kind of go to AI. I'm going to come back to operational excellence here in a moment. I'll probably talk a little bit about our strategy around cloud as well, but please keep the questions coming. I really welcome them. So I'm just going to give you a snapshot of what we're doing in AI, and then I'm going to have a little bit of dialogue about where NetApp fits from its own technology perspective. So one of the common things that we see in the field, common questions we get asked is, how are we managing AI as a technology? How are we being effective? How are we failing fast? How are we learning from our experiences so the business knows where to invest? And I'm telling you, this is not an easy thing to do. AI is in literally every one of our employees' hands. As a company, we want to make sure we're protecting our assets, protecting our IP, protecting our customer data. So as AI as a technology continues to grow and really hit every aspect of our day-to-day lives, it's our job as an IT shop to make sure that the right data is exposed for the right reasons and we're putting in controls, which is where IT is spending most of our time. That said, it's also our responsibility to provide some governance around what NetApp as a whole is doing, especially where NetApp investments are being made. What we have has developed is a kind of an AI governance council. The goal of the council not only is to track what work we're doing, but really to understand where we're seeing success and then share those common learnings across our organization. I think one of the most frustrating things, though, from our executive management is they can't see where the value is. And what I'm showing you here is an attempt to start to illustrate where we're seeing some successes. Now, for those of you with a more of a business mindset, you're going to look at some of this stuff and they're just numbers. And that's what we're hearing from our executive staff. How do you turn this into business value? And that journey continues. But what I think we've done well is, one, we are pulling from our own NetApp. A lot of this is from the NetApp data sets. Obviously, some of it comes from SaaS solutions, but for the most part, this is on a NetApp data ecosystem. And the most difficult thing is making sure the right users are getting the right access to the right data, and then data cleanliness. I mean, data governance around cleanliness is always a challenge, especially when you're pulling from disparate systems. A couple things I'll note. NetApp has recently announced two different product offerings, that follow more into complete NetApp solution sets. One is called an AI Pod Mini. This is a combination of an Intel or NVIDIA NetApp solution. For those of you familiar with the FlexPod solution, think FlexPod without the Cisco gear here. It's really the Intel or the NVIDIA solution set there. What this is designed for is departmental language models. You could think of maybe for a legal team or maybe for a marketing team where you just want to share data within an organization. Comes in at a very low cost point. We ourselves are experimenting with this technology as I speak. Very excited about it because these departmental solutions really can come in handy in complementing what I'm showing you here as an overall corporate initiative. The other one is called an AI data engine. Brand new. If you haven't heard about it, I encourage you to take a peek at it on our main NetApp site. What we're looking at from an IT shop is how we can apply that to our active IQ environment to make that data set even more richer and make that experience as a customer from accessing that data set more effective. So there's a lot of things going on in this space, and this again remains one of our most popular topics. And we probably could just talk about the whole next 40 minutes on this topic alone. But hopefully this gives you a flavor of not only what we're doing, but some of the NetApp technology that's actually becoming very applicable to help broaden this AI adoption. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our approach to the cloud. As you would expect, it does kind of start off with operations. Why this is important is for our IT shop, we really need to understand where our applications were in terms of importance to the business, and then how to construct a, a support operation to enable it. This is almost a 13-year journey at this point. And what this slide is illustrating is how we went from being a very reactive IT organization to being a very proactive one, where now I went from operating just in my own data center back in 2012 to operating in many other data centers, or in this case, many other cloud providers, and really have evolved our operations to be data center agnostic and really focused on the business that we're managing. Let me tell you a little bit, because you're probably reading all the boxes and stuff. This is an internal slide, but I really like to share it because it does cover the people, the process, and the business results. So let me talk about a few things here. The first one is we have a 3-tier outage system. P1 or P0, they're actually the same thing. Those are our most critical systems. They have 0 tolerance for being down for the most part. So you never want to have an outage. They are the blue area. You can see in our past we had outages. Tier 2 is a business unit was affected. And you can see from 2012 to 2015, 16, we were disrupting our business more than we were enabling it. Obviously not a place to be. And obviously when an IT shop is existing in that realm, all you're doing is worrying about problems of today and yesterday. There's no time to worry about and plan for the future. Couple of notes here. One of our biggest challenges was when you operate in a large, complex environment, was having the visibility of understanding how the environment was dependent on each other. Very important piece to be fast and effective in making change. We leverage our own tool, now called Data Infrastructure Insights, to really bring more visibility, not just to the volumes. Data Infrastructure Insights can also see the hosts. So we can understand relations from volume to host. Having that visibility improved our ability to change. And once we improved the ability to change, you can see from about the time it was adopted in 2014, around Q3, our entire operation started to improve. More visibility, better understanding of the effects of change, the better understanding to predict change, the better understanding to avoid outages. It has been key, fundamentally key to our operations. Part of this was also plugging this data, especially around our storage and our volumes, directly into our ServiceNow CMDB. The more the CMDB could become reliable, the more people can rely on it to make this business decisions on what can change and how it affect our user community. Today, we continue to reevaluate not only the power of the data and data infrastructure insights, but look at continue to augment the data sets we're bringing over to the ServiceNow environment to make our operations even that much more effective. Obviously, with this time back, people not spending time on operations, we invested in things like strategy around applications, an application portfolio, and strategy around automation, which I'll be talking about in a moment. Let me just call out a few other things. You see on the top line, it says infrastructure outsourced, infrastructure insourced, and there's something called COLI. There were just project names to make sure we were right-sizing our staff. Along with all the process things you can see, we created process teams. This is all about process, effective process reviewing process, making sure process would evolve with our business, and ensuring we are applying automation wherever we could to make that process more effective. This is a large story all by itself. And like my other stories, one of the things I also want you as the audience to walk away with is when this session's over, it doesn't mean we can't talk anymore. We manage conversations daily with our customers. And if you see a topic here that you're interested in, we're more than happy to take it offline and go as deep as you want and let you drive and get the understanding of what we're doing. That's why the program exists, to be a peer organization to share. But back to this, you can kind of get a sense that, we took a very radically reactionary organization and really have driven order to it, and more importantly, to help scale our entire corporation. Questions? And again, we welcome at the time, welcome post. But let's keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going.
I just wanted to kind of throw this slide in because remember I had shared with you that our costs had changed. If you look at here, part of this becoming more effective, by FY17, our budget gets cut in half. That was one of the rules from our CEO, George Curry, when he first took over. We've remained at a flatline budget ever since. And again, when we're talking about our cloud adoption, everything I'm showing you, this has not been an investment in the organization. We're reinvesting our existing money. Every time we become more effective, that money gets invested in somewhere else to continue that investment rate. I'm just going to very briefly talk about this. We were very early flash adopters, and why this is important, it's allowed us to scale our data centers. We went from 35-ish thousand or 35 petabytes to now almost 140 petabytes. At the same time, my data center has shrunk dramatically. Now, AI is throwing a different wrench into that, but let's just focus here for a moment. I've closed, or we've closed down about 8 data centers during this period of time, to the point to where we're having very good conversations. Can we just fit in one? And then all the obvious conversations is, do you really want to be in one? And how do we protect our data in multiple locations? Bottom line, the investment in Flash has paid off in dividends and allowing us to have a smaller footprint, yet to allow the environment to scale. Again, AI is throwing a whole wrench into this works, but this has been a very powerful tool for us to have less things to manage, less sites to manage, and become more efficient, not only with our data, but also, in care of the environment. So it's a great story all by itself, but just want to make sure we called that one out. So let me briefly talk about our approach to cloud. I'll go through this in about 3 or 5 minutes. As part of the infrastructure team, again, we're at the mercy of our applications team, which really forced us to work with our architects to really get a better handle of our applications portfolio. Long story short here is we took a Gartner pace layering approach. If you're not familiar with Gartner pace layering, I encourage you to look it up. What they do is they give us infrastructure a common vocabulary to speak to the business, basically categorizing all of our applications into, in their case, 3 key areas. We added a 4th called productivity tools. All our applications fall into one of these areas. Now, obviously, on the productivity and systems of record, your HR, your sales systems, those are systems every organization uses to run their company. We'll call those run the business. Systems of differentiation and innovation are things that make us unique in the marketplace. So with this view from an infrastructure perspective and from an IT perspective, we basically carved the world in half. And we said, run the business is going to be SaaS. So if it can be SaaS, it will be SaaS in our IT shop. And for a lot of IT people go, oh, well, that doesn't leave anything. Well, actually, quite the opposite. It actually leaves the most important things that really differentiate you from your competitors. All your product development work, all your software development work, all your unique tools that you run for your business. If you're a bank, it's your financial tools, what have you. And in that aspect, we as an IT shop need to maximize the resources available to those needs. In our case, this is where NetApp really fits in, and it's our sweet spot, how we really allow that innovation, those differentiation tools to take advantage of not one, but all clouds, and really allow the resources to be available to really grow our organization. And in that context too, then not all applications are created equal. So how do you go from your current portfolio to right-sizing your portfolio? Let me just call out a couple things here. Our DII tool, our Data Infrastructure Insights tool, really helps in this conversation. Because not only do you need to understand, is it a run the business tool or a transform, but from an IT shop to get it where it needs to be, it means you need to understand its underlying architecture. You all know going out and trying to manually do that is a very arduous task. In our case, because we're using Data Infrastructure Insights with our CMDB, I can easily see these application constructs, easily identify risks to our business, easily then identify then how I can transform what exists today into where it needs to be tomorrow. For us specifically, we're moving more towards containers. If it's not being SaaS, it's going to be in containers at some future date. And that re-architecture is happening as we speak. The other piece that this was really powerful for us is, let's talk about the VMware situation. Imagine if you had this view of your application portfolio with your VMware challenge. You immediately can ignore almost 30% of your applications because they are applications that are waning or on the tail end of their retirement. It really allows you to focus on those applications that really are more important. And if you can start framing the portfolio up in this business-centric way, it allows us as IT to really be able to communicate risk, potential investments that we need to run our business. Again, this is a very popular topic, and it definitely can have its own session. And again, DII is really the empowerment tool here to really not only look at what you have, but to make meaningful use of the data in terms of helping an IT shop modernize. I also wanted to kind of throw in into this mix because I think it's contextually relevant. We've also, at the same time as we're modernizing our applications, modernizing our process. I chose this slide to really highlight that fact. We have adopted our CI/CD methodology specifically for ONTAP. And yes, everybody's using CI/CD, so that's not news. The news is, where does NetApp fit in? As you can see, our CI/CD is really focused in on developer productivity. The side benefit is the more productive the developers are getting feedback back, the higher quality our product is. So a win on both sides. What I really wanted to call out there is, where does NetApp play? In the development world, every developer has to download a copy of the code, right? It takes time. In our case, we have over 2,000 engineers. So you can imagine if every 2,000 engineers every 2 weeks had to download a copy of the code, there is time lost there. We actually leverage our NetApp FlexClone technology to create an instant copy, so the developers are right back to coding again. That ability alone gives them time back to do what they need to do best, which is to develop and code and create new features for all of us customers. Just one of many different ways we apply our technology to gain immediate business results and really, again, focus in on the need at hand. In this case, developer productivity to develop really high quality code. I do want to mention very briefly our VMware situation. In relation to the slide I showed a few minutes ago about our modernization efforts, we actually started with over almost 6,000 VMs. So we've already been, and with between SaaS and the modernization effort, we were already at a much smaller subset of where we were before the VMware issue came upon us. This was our situation at hand. What I'd like to call out here is a couple of things. One, again, our data infrastructure insights tool was able to go in and look at this environment to ensure we were right-sized. Yeah, the VMware licensing doesn't necessarily care about that too much anymore, but as a user, as a customer, I need to have that visibility to allow me to come up with an action plan. Because at the end of the day, if I was going to migrate, I need to understand what I was migrating and what it needed to look like when it finally had been migrated. So this is where we started. A couple things I want to call out here, though, is this is not just a platform change. Kind of as we were talking along, it is a very holistic change. We have a lot of automation, so the changing to automation had to be considered. Every application migration has its own risk, so we had to consider that. And then how are we going to change our skills, both in our platform side as well as operational support? It's not just a platform change, it's a holistic IT change that we had to consider. And what we had to ensure was we minimized our risk to the business. One of the things I'll call out here is we have a fantastic tool we developed almost 10 years ago, now it's resurfaced and we've augmented it quite a bit, called Shift. Again, this really leverages NetApp technology, specifically FlexClone. Imagine if you can create a copy of your environment, do all the changes, all the configuration changes, all the conversion into a new platform without impacting the application at all. So we're using FlexClone, do the conversion, test the conversion, and only after it successfully tests, then we ask the application team for downtime. To really illustrate that, sorry, this is a build slide. This shows you the reducing the time we required to reboot the application. In our largest applications, it went from what, over an hour and a half down to a very predictable 5 minutes. The shift tool has become a huge value to us in enabling this capability of allowing a platform change and minimizing risk to our applications team, which means minimizing our risk to our business. Again, very popular topic. Happy to talk more, but wanted to share that key point of, again, where the NetApp differentiating value is. This shift tool is unique to NetApp because it relies on FlexClone, and FlexClone is very unique to the ONTAP solution set. Very briefly here, ServiceNow, again, is the center of our IT universe. We rely on ServiceNow for, you saw it, change management, talked about that. Our application portfolio management, we talked about that. All powered by DII in terms of ensuring accuracy, automated updates to our infrastructure environment. As we delivered automation, we're an Ansible shop, we delivered it with our developers in mind again. It needed to be a service our developers can come and consume. Today, our IT enterprise developers come in, they see a self-service catalog that's designed for them based on their role, and they come and they can consume infrastructure, platform, or containers as a service literally in minutes. There's no tickets, from a developer's perspective, they just come in, point and click, and away they go. Yes, we can control what they ask for. We do it by the 80% rule. We build common solutions that they can come quickly consume, and we can deliver with security built in, quality built in, ensure that they can just get and keep working and keep developing as they go. Let me just give you a behind the scenes. You can see we are an Ansible shop. We leverage our entire ecosystem that I had shared with you before, the backend architecture, because I have developers working in all different types of applications, and they shouldn't care where their application is. That's our job. So we ensure that not only can we deliver the application at high reliability wherever it resides, whatever cloud it resides, we also can deliver seamless ability to develop against those environments, again, with the developer productivity in mind, ultimately with the business results in mind. This is our container view. We are a Rancher shop today, like the VMware challenge. The Rancher, the Kubernetes licensing keeps changing, so we had to be able to plug and play. So today we're a Rancher shop, continue down the modernization effort. This is our focus for our future of our applications that will not be SaaS'd. Very effective tool, again, built on ServiceNow, self-service. Again, one of the most popular topics we have, and would love to talk more about that at a more detailed session. But hopefully it gives you a feel of what we have done in our own IT organization. And last and certainly not least, part of the Kubernetes is our ability to seamlessly provide automation for our Kubernetes environment. We're a big Trident user. If you haven't heard about Trident, it's really a NetApp unique tool set that really allows this persistent storage to be automatically and effectively delivered to our solution set. So very, very cool use case. Again, if you're interested, very happy to go deep on that at a future date. I'm going to stop here. Hopefully this gives you a sense of what we've accomplished in our own IT organization. Hopefully it gives you a sense of how we can share those experiences on a deeper level if you're interested. We are available globally, really strive to be a peer organization, sharing our value in terms of demonstrating success so you can find faster time from investment to value. If you can take a moment, we'd really appreciate you giving us some feedback. There's always room to improve, always ability for us to help streamline our messaging to share this as a peer organization. So take a quick moment to do that.
Yeah. And if you have questions, this is the final minutes. So send them in.
Well, and Fabio, you know, too, I know I go sit on a webinar like an hour later or 2 hours, or maybe a day later, I go, hey, I have a question. Through Fabio, through Marcus, we are here for you. In fact, we're giving you ways to also direct connect with us. I'm a true believer that our IT peer community is really important for us to learn from each other. I can't tell you how many times in my past I sat in a room, I go, I can't believe I'm the only one going through this. You're not. Our customers, we're just like every customer. Helping reach out. Now, do we have all the right solutions? No. But we have done things that have worked. Are there better ways? Maybe. Um, I think it's the communication, the community that we're trying to create here that I think is really important. And because we live and breathe the NetApp environment, we have learned things, again, from faster time to value. And that's really our goal, is being able not only to share our experience in the NetApp space, but the practical applications into an entire IT ecosystem. I will say this, it's always a pleasure to be able to speak to such a large group of folks. Hopefully you've seen something and benefited from it. We'll make sure you are enabled with the deck. It is free to share. And more importantly, if there is something here you find interest in, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to figure out if there's a certain session you want, because it's not just me. I have an entire IT organization with subject matter experts. So we could literally cover any topic of interest to as deep as you want, again, with the goal of sharing what we have done.